In this episode, we are going to run a reality check on how AI is reshaping the consulting industry. No jargon, no judgment, just fresh and first-hand perspectives from someone like Vanessa, who living through the workflow day by day. I think we have largely moved past the question of whether AI can help with consulting work. A more interesting question today would be where AI can operate autonomously versus where it serves as a tool to majorly improve human judgment, especially when the stakes are high. That's why I'm so excited to have Vanessa join us today because she's a friend of mine to begin with, and she now works in private equity consulting at Alvarez and Marcel. Her work exactly sits at the intersection of diagnosis and execution. Vanessa, for those who are not really familiar with private equity consulting, could you help us understand your corner of the consulting world? What kinds of problems are clients bring to you? And what does your work actually look like day by day?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Daisy. I am very happy to be here talking with you because I always like talking with you. I'm in the private equity performancing group at Officer Marsal A&M. I've been here for 3 years now. Since 2023, I've definitely seen the change in the types of work we do. So the whole concept of the work we do as a group in Peppy is that we help private equities prep their precos for their exit. It could be the CFO services work, like what I do, which is anything under the CFO office. It could be controllership, it could be FP&A, it could be finance transformation, anything that a CFO would consider himself or herself relevant with, we do that. In CFO services, when I first joined in 2023, a lot of our work is focused on liquidity. So helping companies improve their cash flow or simply the cash flow forecast. I think that type of work has faded away a little bit simply because there's a lot of liquidity in the market right now. And I've been doing a lot of FP&A related work, and most of that is in the finance transformation side. So a lot of companies are looking for efficiency in their finance work. And that brings us into this AI conversation because everyone wants to improve efficiency. And
Yeah.
AI's biggest selling point is efficiency. So we've been seeing a lot of shift in that direction. There is a digital group under my group, and they've been using a lot of digital solutions, AI included, to help
Mhm.
the Percos improve their efficiency in their finance work.
I like that you point the conversation to more specific workflows. So when you talk about a lot of clients are actually seeking for improve their efficiency, is that more just on FP&A perspective or operational efficiency?
I think both. I think actually more in operations. It's a tough market right now for every company. Cost is rising, the interest rate is still holding really, really high. So a lot of companies are actually looking at reducing the bottom line instead of increasing the top line. So efficiency is so important in operations.
Just as context for the audience, when we talk about top line, we're talking about revenue. And in this market, it's more challenging, right? Because everyone tends to spend more cautiously. So same for the company. And when we talk about bottom line, we are talking the net margin. So you're saying the clients are looking for ways to reduce the operational cost and
Mhm.
eventually increase their margin. Where do you think AI comes to play in helping reduce operational cost? Maybe a easier way, name a very typical workflow or problems that often clients come to you. How did you handle it before AI advancement, say 2 to 3 years ago versus now? Maybe that's a better
Yeah.
way to picture the work change because of AI.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, a great way to frame it. I like to talk more about the finance work since that's where
Hmm.
I spend most of my time in. And I like to talk about like how A&M are using AI to help the
Yeah.
client instead of how they are using it themselves.
Hmm.
So for example, a very typical work stream in CFO services is prepping monthly reporting because all the companies I work with are private. They don't have the regulatory requirement to do quarterly, annually report on their performance. However, the sponsors, being the private equities, they do want to see how the companies are running. So
Hmm.
most of them have a monthly reporting package that the companies need to prepare to hand it to the private equity so that it's transparent.
Hmm.
This work stream is, as you can think, repetitive in a lot of settings. Maybe like you have one or two new things every month, every quarter that you want to highlight. But a lot of the times the P&L structure is set. The report structure is set. You are reporting against the same KPIs month over month. And that
Hmm.
is something that is very easily automated. And sometimes the clients, they take a long time to prep for the monthly reporting package, only because they're using a very manual process on a lot of unstructured data.
Hmm.
Because if you think about the private equity world, the PEs are going out there buying out family-owned businesses or local small businesses where they don't have a structure. Some of the companies don't even have a ERP, or if they
Yeah.
do, they don't know how to use it. So the data comes out very unstructured, very manual, uh,
Very messy, right?
very messy. That is a great place to use AI to improve efficiency. Because
Hmm.
in the old days, when we're doing everything in Excel, or in some cases, we're doing it Alteryx, which is also a digital solution, but it's hard to get everything in a standard format. You can use all the Power Queries, Power Pivot, or SQL in Excel, but it's
Yeah.
it's hard to do and less intuitive than AI.
Hmm.
Right now, we use Claude, and what you need to do is just put all the messy data in Claude and ask it to give you an output that is clean, usable.
I can relate to this so much because I'm in venture capital. We're similar in terms of preparing the financial statements in a lot of like ways. Because first of hand, we're also like private company, right? Because they're startups, they don't have really structured financial reporting portal yet. They even don't have defined KPI metrics yet. So when you say that currently you are majorly using Claude, can you share a very typical prompt? How do you prompt Claude so that the deliver is actually accurate and consistent over time?
Yeah, that's the key. I think anyone can use AI, but the output will be dramatically different based on how you prompt it.
Hmm.
A few important points here because we know about the AI hallucination problem. So it's
Yeah.
very important to put in your prompt that only give me the output based on the data that I inputted. Don't
Hmm.
give me anything else. Very important thing. And also, you need to know what you're asking for. And to know what you're asking for, you need to know what you're putting into it
Hmm.
because garbage in, garbage out. So you have to put this very messy data set in and you have to know what's in it and what are the things you're looking for from this
Hmm.
whole mess and be very clear in your prompt. Say that, let's say we put in like a trial balance and it has like department codes, it has maybe like company codes, like regions, and it has the line item, it has the amount. You just list it out very clearly. Hey, give me 5 columns based on this data. In each column, I want department code, I want location code, I want description, I want amount. Be very clear of what you're asking for and be very clear about not referring to anything else outside of the data set.
In your current workflow, sounds like they are more like a manager and briefing their analyst on
That's
what type of
exactly it.
deliverable I want. And for line items and the columns, what I'm looking for to follow certain template, right?
That's exactly it. That's a great analogy. So especially in the first stage, in this first stage of cleaning up the data set, AI is my analyst. And I'm
Hmm.
telling AI what to do exactly how I would tell an analyst what to do.
How do you feel working with human analyst versus your AI analyst?
It's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, there are good analysts, there are bad analysts.
Okay, let's just
I think
say qualified analyst. Yeah.
I think pros and cons.
Yes.
Pro for AI is that it is consistently efficient. I have a standard expectation on how long this work is going to take, what the
Hmm.
output is going to look at. And I know for certain that I am going to get what I asked for in a very short amount of time. So the
Hmm.
consistency of like trusting that AI is going to give me what I have, I think that's a pro because with analysts, like anything can come up. There are all different kinds of things that, especially if they're staffed on multiple projects, you don't know what to expect.
Hmm.
So I like the certainty of it. It's also it is much much faster than any human actually using like traditional tools like Excel much faster. I can input a huge data set and at most, like if I'm using the most advanced model to calculate in Claude, might take like 10, 20 minutes. A lot of times it takes 5 minutes to get what I want. Much faster. The con is I am concerned that there will be a skill gap in the future
Hmm.
for new consultants coming into the field. I think
Hmm.
for myself, how I have grown and how I've learned stuff step by step and being who I am today, who's like managing projects and managing work streams, I learned from doing it. I know what to ask for because I have been asked for the same thing and I
Right.
have produced the results.
Hmm.
For new consultants coming in, because they're not being asked to do all these things and maybe they don't know how to learn. There is a gap here creeping in. I don't think we're seeing it just yet, but
Hmm.
in 3 to 5 years, I'm just worried about the next generation.
Yeah, I hear you. To develop the taste to evaluate what is good versus bad. You should go through that hands-on building it yourself first. And so later when you rise up to manager, you'll be able to tell what you're looking for, what is a good work look like. What if in the future, the whole talent structure for consulting firms might be totally different than nowadays? Today, the structure is majorly based on humans. It's evolving into human plus AI. And maybe in the future, the ratio will be more AI versus human. So maybe the future, like juniors, they are being evaluated on different skill sets, how you can prompt AI better. What do you think? If you were to hire juniors, what qualities you are looking for?
Great point. Critical thinking is always so important. I
Uh-huh.
always like to go back to thinking about think about when Excel first came out, and back then the accountants, the consultants are doing all the calculations on paper, like 100 years ago. Everyone's able to do that, and then Excel came out, and then you have to build models in it. You have to have this completely new skill set. You have to know all the shortcuts to be efficient. And that's a completely new thing that developed over the past few decades that people in the 60s probably can't even imagine. But it's not a bad thing. And it didn't take away all the jobs from all the smart people. It literally, like you said, it just means that you have to pivot. You have to prompt better maybe in the future.
Hmm.
What I'm looking for now when I am trying to find a junior resource in my team is really critical thinking. That is something that I don't think AI can do for me right now. Until it can read my mind, I still need to do the thinking myself. And I still expect the analyst on my team to do the thinking part. I was actually talking to my friend, you know her, I was talking to my friend Alvira yesterday about
Oh,
this.
yeah, she's in investment banking, right?
She's in investment banking. She's a VP at RBC, and she's talking about how some analysts on her team are really good with using Claude to produce a first draft of any pitches she asked for. Some are really bad because they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what they're asking for. And we were talking about what's the cause for this variance. And I think it is just I think everyone who gets into this kind of industry is smart. I also don't think this industry is rocket science. You don't need to be like super smart to like really work and be successful in this field. But it's more of a like a willingness to think in a structural way
Mm-hmm.
and to be good at being a critical thinker. You
Mm-hmm.
have to train your mind in this structural thinking way, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Totally. A little bit context for the audience. Vanessa mentioned critical thinking. It's so important, especially for consulting, because oftentimes you are navigating through high ambiguity. The key is how can you develop your hypothesis and test it within a short time of period.
It really doesn't matter like if you have the skill to use Excel or the skill to use AI, or like if you know like the technical way, if you know how to coding, like it doesn't matter. That's why for consulting interviews, it's more about how you think about a problem. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's say for like interviewing for like an undergrad student for consulting companies, you would never bring them in and just ask them like, hey, build this model in 3 hours and like let me see all the hotkeys you're using, let me see like how you're calculating everything. It's not
Yeah.
about that. It's a
Mm-hmm.
case interview where I have a problem. How would you approach this problem?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're facing with it? So as a junior resource coming in, how do you know if you're doing the right thing? Sometimes you probably don't know if you are
Mm-hmm.
on the right track. But again, it really is not about that. It's about if you want to learn, if
Mm-hmm.
you are eager, and if you have that logical thinking.
Let's go back a little bit to what type of work is being let me not try to use replace because it's such a fluffy word. What type of workflow are being changed by AI? And you mentioned the first one is like data cleaning around financial statements. Any other type of work you see hugely affected by AI advancements?
Yeah, I can walk you through like a work stream and like at what points we're using AI for it.
Mhm.
And I think that the key here is a lot of the labor intensive manual work are being replaced by AI,
Mhm.
but the decisions are still being made by human. The recommendations we're giving to our client are our intellectual property. It's not AI. So that's the major difference.
Mhm.
But let's walk through a project. Let's
Yeah.
say I am building a three-step model for my client so they can have a long range plan to prep and forecast for 3 years in. First step, we got the data, we cleanse it. AI can help a lot with that. We already talked about it.
Mhm.
Second step, building the actual forecast. And just a little bit of context here, like to build a good forecast, you have to understand the historical trends, which is why you need to cleanse the data. And you have to understand what's possibly going to happen in the future. You probably want to do some sensitivity analysis. You
Right.
probably want scenarios built in so you're prepared for upside, for downsides. I have not utilized the AI a lot in the actual forecasting period
Mhm.
because it is very judgment intensive.
Mhm.
There are a lot of decisions that need to be made in the forecasting process. And I personally don't think I trust the AI enough to make the judgment calls for me today.
Mhm.
I don't know how it's gonna change in this, but I don't use AI for any forward looking
Mhm.
analysis. So then, okay, the model's done. We have the forecast. Then we look at what the forecast is telling me. I have my recommendations. That part, I also really don't use AI. I'm using my experience. I'm using my own judgment, but I do use AI to quality check a lot of the work
Mhm.
down here. So after I'm done with the forecast, I put it in a cloud and I ask it, is there anything I'm missing? Like based on what other people would do, based on the industry trends, based on the
Hmm.
historicals, is there anything that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? Or I would like bounce ideas off AI as well.
Like a thinking partner for free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I can do that with my teammates. I can like I can do that with AI. They're very similar, but the benefit of using AI is that because it's a large database, so like
Right.
I get a little more ideas. So I do
And
use AI for that.
for the database, is from company internal data or external publicly available data?
Well, it depends on what I'm looking at. If I'm
Hmm.
asking AI, like, oh, based on the historical trend of this company, does this make sense? Is the seasonality thing here make sense? In
Yeah.
that case, it's specifically based on the internal data. If I'm looking at like industry at large,
Hmm.
I would ask AI to like look at everything else.
Makes
And
sense.
here, a very important thing is again how to prompt. Like this is very important. You have to ask whatever you're using to give you the source. So
Hmm.
then it's very easy for you to go back and check on the source link and see if it's legitimate. You can't just make up something and tell me what I want to hear. You have
Yeah.
to go back to the right resource.
Right.
Okay, so that's that step. After that, you're wrapping up the project. You want to transfer this model report you've built to the client so they can
Yeah.
continue maintaining it. What I really like to use AI in this process is to write a user manual on how to update and maintain the model. The key thing here
Hmm.
is building the model sometimes is a very lonely process. Maybe like one associate is like doing the whole heavy lifting in
Yeah.
Excel, and a lot of like there are good model hygiene, like you follow a lot of good practices to make sure it's easily traceable, it's like easy to update, but it is still something that is kind of built in vacuum.
Hmm.
So for the client to take over the the whole model, it's very critical to have a clean and detailed and it's very plain instruction on what sales you need to update. Don't touch what formula, stuff like that. And it takes a while to write up the whole manual.
Like,
And
how
I
should they use this model that your team built going forward, and how should they interpret different number outcomes?
correct. And like,
Hmm.
what is the data source? What report you need to pull from what system? Get in touch with who to get a input for this? Like, to write up a whole like detailed manual. Think about buying an
Yeah.
appliance that it comes with manuals this thick, like
Exactly.
that.
Hmm.
So it's a labor intensive work.
Hmm.
And usually it takes a day or two to like actually get the first draft. And then you have to review it and then you have to review it with the client. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
What Claude can do is actually really interesting. You can input the Excel model to Claude and you can ask it to just follow the calculation, trace your formulas, in between tabs. And these models are like advanced models. So there could be
Hmm.
20 tabs in it. There could be a lot of multiple data sources, a lot of calculation. Um, I have done it for a 3-segment model and a 13-week cash flow model that I have built. I asked Claude to just trace my calculation, trace the formula, and write up a user manual for someone who wasn't involved in the building process of the model to
Yep.
maintain and update the model going forward. I have
Wow.
been very pleasantly surprised by the results.
Uh, it's how about the accuracy?
It's pretty good.
Wow.
I think for one of my 3 sigma model, because again, it was a very advanced model with a lot of data source, and I used the most advanced model in Claude to write the manual. So it took about, I think, an hour, cost me about $20.
Hmm. Just burn the
And
tokens and get me the manual
s-
ready.
still much cheaper than like an actual human being spending like
Yeah.
a whole hour on it. Very
Interesting.
accurate, especially if your model is like clean and traceable. It's
Yeah.
very accurate.
It's very interesting because I build similar instructions to hand it to the portfolio companies as well. A lot of times in the model, there's formula, there's hardcore values, right? And there's certain like variables that you can change. So Claude can identify all of that.
Yes, given that your model is built the right way.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like all your inputs in a certain tab with all yellow highlights and you're not hard coding here and there, but like everything's like logical, then it
Yeah.
is easy for Claude to like trace it.
So, for example, your naming is consistent and you build the model in a way that recognizable for an AI model.
A good model should be that way.
I want to revisit one thing that you mentioned as you build the forecasting model. You mentioned there's a lot of judgment that you can't rely on AI. Can you give us an example?
That is that it tends to tell you what you want to hear.
Okay.
But it's not about what the client wants to hear. It's about
Mm.
the reality. It's about what could happen in the future. Good things could happen, bad things could happen, and different decisions we make today can lead to very different results tomorrow. And I want like impartial, logical predictions, judgments, forecast for the future instead of like a yes man who like just tells me what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are things you can do to minimize that. In your prompt, you can like tell AI to like, don't just tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah, I literally do it all the time.
I do it with my personal AI. I'm keeping track of my diet for the month. And every time
Uh-huh.
I input something, I use ChatGPT for my personal use, but I tell it to like, don't tell me that I'm doing a good job. Just give me the facts of what it is.
Wow, we both love tough love, right? It's like, tell me the truth. Don't just like patty me or being the cheerleader, right?
Yeah, don't sugarcoat me. I don't need that. I just need to know how much calories and protein I had today. Another thing that I think is more critical for consultants is that the clients are not paying me so that I can use AI to tell them what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
If they want that, they can use AI to tell them whatever they want. They are
That's so true.
engaging consultants for our professional experience, right? We've seen a lot. We've understand the industry through like different work we've done in the past, and they are putting their trust in us, the
Mm-hmm.
clients. So I'm not going to let AI do the hard work and just trust it as it.
That makes sense. Speaking of clients reacting to all this AI changing XYZ industry topics, have you seen anything that clients asking for today that they were not asking a couple of years ago?
I think the expectation on efficiency is changing. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe we would be able to like sell a work stream, a same work stream for 8 weeks 3 years ago. Now the clients are like, maybe you can do it in 4 weeks because they know we can cut out a lot of the manual labor. Back to the quality of it. I think
Yeah.
that is a huge focus for everyone now. Like it was on the news before that there was a law firm that produced a report that was produced by AI and there
Mm-hmm.
were just wrong facts in it and they had to retract it from the judge. There were other consulting firms, I'm not going to name them, who produced like white papers purely using AI and didn't do
Check.
chat view. So it was like wrong and they had to also have to retract it. It hurts the reputation of the
Mm-hmm.
consulting firm 100%. And your clients are going to lose confidence in you. They're paying you for you to produce high quality work. And if you're not even bothering to check what AI has produced, then like you said, like why are the clients paying you? They can just totally go use their own AI to do this.
Next up, let's touch on another topic. Why hasn't everything in consulting been automated? I'm just pushing this to extreme so that
Mhm.
we're doing this as a thought exercise. Let's break it into two buckets. Such a consulting language. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The first bucket is those you think should be automated. but not yet ready today. And second bucket is those you think will never fully automate away by AI.
Yeah, I think those questions are great and exactly the things that we should be talking about. And by we, I mean everyone in consulting should be
Mhm,
thinking about it because it's definitely going to reshape how the industry looks in the future. So I think within consulting, it also varies. Some companies are doing a great job involving AI, trying to automate a lot of stuff with AI. Some companies are maybe not. It is very costly to use AI right now. So
mhm,
for like smaller firms, maybe they have less of an opportunity to explore it. For bigger firms, we saw that McKinsey was the biggest user for ChatGPT when it first came out. Maybe they have the resource and the expertise to use it.
mhm,
So just baseline here, I think just within consulting, there are different levels of using AI to automate things. And maybe some of the automations that's happening in bigger firms are still not yet happening at other firms.
mhm,
And some of the things I think that should be automated, definitely like I mentioned before, like the labor intensive work,
mhm.
cleaning
The
the
model
data.
building. Yeah.
Yeah, especially for the actual parts. Like, I really hate using AI for the forecast part. I don't think it's ready yet. But for like looking at historicals, looking at actuals, like things that already happened, and
Mhm,
just cleansing the data, all those work should be automated by AI. And I think it's happening really, really fast.
mhm,
I think people are, and it's the speed of change is not a straight line. I think, like, if I think about 2 years ago, we already know AI is a thing and everyone's already using it, but the adoption in consulting was not that wide.
mhm.
And starting this year
Yeah.
specifically, with the cloud model being so advanced, with like multiple competitors coming into the AI field, I think
Mhm,
people are using it more and more. And I think it's only a matter of time. And this matter of time is going to be really, really short when we see full or nearly full adoption of AI in this
mhm.
like data cleansing and like manual work.
Yeah. Yeah. And why it's not yet ready today, assuming the resource and the budget spent on this are the same across different consulting firms.
I think something you mentioned, the trust in AI, because AI does hallucinate, and there are
Mhm,
ways to minimize it, but you can't get rid of it. At least
mhm.
right now, you still just can't get rid of it completely. So a lot of people think if I use AI to do something and have to go back and double check everything, then what's the
Yeah.
point? Why don't I just
Right.
do this thing myself? In my perspective, though, I think with AI, having it do it, and even with you like going back and review it, depending on what kind of work it is, still
Mhm.
saves me a lot of time than just
Mm.
like doing it myself. So I think that's the second thing, the trust. I
The
think
trust.
the third thing is just the speed of adoption. I think there's some like inherent resistance in people. I think it's human nature that we are reluctant when it comes to change, even though I think consultants are the group of people who actually embrace change quite well compared
Mhm,
to maybe other industries. It is still inherent, like we're just doubtful of this change. And some people are less willing to adopt. Some people are more,
mm.
which is also why we see in this industry it varies a lot, like based on what firm you work at, based on what type of consulting you do. It still varies a lot.
Yeah. So you're saying like one of the hurdles of AI adoption is human psychology, like the willingness to change. What about client? Are they
Mm.
actively adopt?
I think it's an interesting question, and because of the industry I work in, it is quite different. I think for like public companies,
Yeah.
Everyone is chasing this high. Everyone is very, very willing to put their foot forward and start adopting AI and like very scared of a big FOMO there. Like everyone's scared they're gonna be left behind. And they do have more resources to really chase AI in that sense. But because I work in private equity and a
Yeah.
lot of the businesses are small businesses, a lot of them are not that complicated. They don't really need to, or like
Mhm.
they have a lot more like other problems to fix before they even think about this AI adoption. So I don't really see the clients jumping up and down with AI right now.
Thank you for pointing out this huge difference between companies owned by private equity versus public company. I think to simply say the private equity owned company, usually they're going through a restructure turnaround, optimizing for, again, the net margin. They cannot justify the investment for adding AI yet. Means that AI is not addressing their most urgent business problems. Can I understand this way?
Yes, that's a great way to put it. So private equity is an interesting industry. The private equities, how they work is that they go fund money, they have their LPs, and then they invest this money in all sorts of different businesses. And the goal of that investment is to eventually bring the company public, to recruit the cash, or sell it to another private equity, or sell it to another owner. Either way, the private equities are not in it to hold the business for 100 years and then grow them from a small company to a GE type of company. That's not the goal. So
Right.
because it is a shorter time horizon for the investment thesis, sometimes it doesn't make sense to put in a lot of investment. All they
True.
need to do is just improvement. And
Hmm.
if they can see a way out, and that way out is either going public or being sold,
Hmm.
that's the goal. That's the end
Yeah.
goal. So it's not like the government, it's not like the public companies. It's very unique.
Right.
But,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
but to
Go
add on
ahead.
to that, though, if AI is a way and it's a tool that can help them to get to that goal, I'm sure they're going to adopt it and they're going to
Hmm.
use it, whatever to get, whatever helps to get to the end goal, they're definitely utilize it. But right now, as we stand at this moment, for a lot of companies, it is still, it's just, it costs too much. It doesn't make sense to make that investment right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
For a lot of high
100%.
growth company, they probably spending more than they can make while they're betting on the upside of the long-term growth. Another one is more like first principle thinking. I think in general, we believe that the types of work that AI are doing well and less hallucination are those pattern recognition work. And in consulting, what part of consulting still requires judgment and trust building?
You used a great word for it. I think the principle of things. I think a lot of things require human judgment. If as a consultant, like I'm using AI to help my client make better decisions to grow their revenue, cut their costs, like be more efficient. But some of the things are not just about numbers. Like,
Hmm.
am I doing the right thing by growing my revenue this way or that way? A really bad example is I can like invade a country, take everything they have and just count that as mine. Or I can not do that. And I can do it in a very ethical way. And if I'm just looking at the numbers and I'm using an emotionless tool such as AI to make that decision, and I only input my end goal as a bigger number, it's going to make a decision that doesn't make sense. It is
Mm.
going to point into a direction that eventually is not good for us. So I think when it comes to decisions, you can have AI like help you like present a few options you have, but AI can't be the one that's making
Hmm.
the call. Humans need to make the
Make
call.
the call. There's just an example. come to my mind. Say a company want to cut their labor cost of back office. Easy way is offshore so that you're saving on labors. But then offshore also means maybe worse customer relationship or data security, maybe affect long term how does the market perceive this brand. Those stuff cannot be decided just based on numbers. How about behavior change, change management? Say that you have made a strategy and then you need to be embedded into the client company to make things really happen. Does your work touch these?
Not exactly in my current field. Yeah.
Do you have those experiences before from your previous companies?
I think in restructuring it happens a lot more
Hmm.
in a turnaround and restructuring world, which is work I did before I joined A&M.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, in those type of situations, it happens a lot more. Actually,
Uh-huh.
it's been interesting to see how the restructuring firms are adopting AI.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking is I feel like that's another piece really hard to be automated away by AI because it's hugely about organizational navigation and stakeholder management and change human legacy behavior, which hasn't been changed for decades, right?
or thousands of years.
Yeah, thousands of years. Uh-huh. Do you think
Yeah,
that's the
no,
case?
exactly. Like again, you can utilize AI as a tool to present you with options to
Mm-hmm.
like tell you, oh, maybe this would be beneficial if you do this. But ultimately, when it comes to like stakeholders and like change management, humans need to make the decision. And I don't think anyone is comfortable to let AI make that decision anytime soon.
The second piece I'm thinking here is there should be someone take the liability if something goes wrong. So maybe there should be human to take that liability to keep everything accountable versus, oh, let's just blame the AI bot, right?
That, actually an interesting point. I don't think I've thought about it that way, but that's a really
Like
interesting point.
if
Someone
something goes
needs to be
wrong, who
accountable.
gonna?
I think that's a great point. The counterpoint is maybe that's exactly why they want to use AI, so they can just blame it.
Hmm. Okay, let's see. That's a fun topic. I think especially for professional services, if you think about lawyer, consultant, a major chunk of the work is the internal stakeholder want a third party to help them navigate internal politics. So
A
that
lot of times.
that
Yes.
way, how can you just blame everything on the bot?
Yes. A lot of times consultants are coming into a situation to drive change, and
Yeah,
some of the change doesn't happen or doesn't happen easily within an organization if you're just doing it yourself. There's a lot of different factors in play. There's maybe internal politics, maybe there's like different priorities between different departments, but consultants come in as a totally impartial, or at least the idea is the totally impartial third party that is going to drive this change for a common goal for the entire company.
right.
So that is a function that is really hard to replace.
Exactly. I think looking ahead, when you hire someone, that would be really important. How can you communicate based on different stakeholders? And how can you read the room and quickly ramp up on the situation and being
Mm-hmm.
able to get buy-in from upper leaders, from your peers, from your
Mm-hmm.
juniors, right? Based on where you are standing today, what skills you want to develop or keep sharpening in the next 5 years. I think that can give us some flavor on what do you think really important nowadays.
Thank you. But I'm going to talk about this in this very like personal view
Please.
because
Yeah,
of where I stand today. I'm in the
exactly.
kind of in the middle stage of my career.
Hmm.
So I've already had the experience being the analyst, the associate, the senior associate. Now, as I transition and going upwards in the consulting world, my roles and responsibilities are shifting. I'm going from a more of a doer to a leader. So what I need to think about now and what I need to think about in the future in 5 years are different from what I used to think about. So
Exactly.
by that I mean like I am doing more, I'm leading more work streams, I'm leading more teams. I am kind of in this middle part where I have to manage upwards, manage also my team. So that means that I need to understand like the priorities of things we're doing. I need to understand what the leadership expectation is, and I need to translate that into actionable directions for my team. And I think as I like move through my career stages, a lot of things and the skill sets required are transitioning from technical skills of how to calculate something to more like interpersonal skills on how to be an effective leader. So it's shifting, and I think in this shift, it actually like it becomes more and more human, if that makes sense. So I think for me, like I'm ready to embrace the change that AI is bringing to us in the industry. I'm ready to like see what kind of like extra efficiency we can have when we actually embrace this tool, and I'm excited to see how the whole industry is going to be like in 5 years. But I don't think that changed the fundamental goal that I'm trying to achieve, which is to become a more efficient, empathetic leader for an organization. So whatever I can do to myself and my team to like get to the end stage, I'm willing to try. If that is incorporating more AI into the work we do, or if it is to learn other skills, because we don't even know what's going to happen in 5 years. Because 5 years ago, if you ask me what AI will do to the consulting world, I would ask you, what is AI? Like, why is
That's so
that a
true.
thing
Same.
that we're talking
Yeah.
about? So we don't know what is going to happen in 5 years, which is why the human element in all of this is so important. Things are going to change. Technology is going to change. The world is going to change. What is not going to change is ourselves.